We're live here, Jackie Lesser headquarters, where love is the way and we get in the way. And today's freedom phrase is listen up to lighten up. And I'm loving this idea of having a freedom phrase for the week because number one, it keeps me focused. Keeps my attention and my energy on what I'm wanting to create. And I got to think that if you're hanging out with me and you're listening to this, that you are also valuing freedom. And to replace some of your, unconscious thoughts with a freedom phrase would be really helpful. I know it does help me. That procedure that I had last week, man, I was like poster child for ease and grace when I used the freedom phrase from last week, which was, I am willing to believe otherwise. I am willing to believe otherwise. I'm willing to see this otherwise. It was super helpful. So this week's freedom phrase is listen up to lighten up. And I think it's so timely because we have just celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday yesterday. And a lot of people are focused on freedom. There's a women's march at the end of the week. And we are in like some uncharted territory, right? We are in some times that are unprecedented. There's no roadmap for this. And so these freedom phrases can really point us in a direction that feels better, takes your eye off fear and puts your eyes onto freedom. Put your thoughts onto freedom, put your focus onto freedom, and gives energy to freedom. And in honor of MLK and freedom, listen up to lighten up is a way of navigating in uncertainty that will give you a lot of freedom. Because so often we are not listening. We aren't listening to opposing views. We're not listening to differences of opinion. We're not listening to half the people that talk to us say. Why? Because we have preconceived notions. We know how they are. We know who they are. We already know what they think. When in fact, if you were to just push pause and listen up, you would lighten up. You would have the opportunity to get to know someone more intimately, to really get to know what's behind some of their thoughts. What had them, long time ago start thinking in this way? Or what's recently changed that's gotten them thinking this way? I have parents that have differences of opinion on how the world works than I do. And at first I found it really hard. And I was also dismissive of their opinions. And more recently, it's just so much easier to get curious and to be wondering, like, wow, what is it that has you thinking that way? If I could go in like an explorer, and if I could go in with this desire, this childlike innocence and childlike curiosity, like, I just don't know how you're thinking this way and I would love to hear more, that creates intimacy. It also creates an opportunity for me to see where we are the same. Because guess what? I want, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, at the end of this moment, I want to feel peaceful, I want to feel free, and I want to feel loved. And that's what we all want. At the core, that is what everyone wants. We may have a different way of going about it, but if you listen up and you lighten up, right, you'll just find what's similar rather than what is so different. And you'll appreciate their story, where they came from, how they came to those conclusions, even if you don't agree. You remember that this is another human being just like you, that has desires for peace and freedom and love, and that has fears of uncertainty. They're navigating just like you are. So the freedom phrase for this week is listen up to lighten up. And you will feel a lot lighter all week. You know that love is the way. And if you're here, you know how to get in the way. So if there's anyone else that you think would benefit from hearing today's freedom phrase, this week's freedom phrase, please share. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.